Pele as a brand. Ruben, let's start with you. What did you make of his brand, his image on the world stage beyond beyond football?
I'm sorry. He transformed the game also in that kind of way. I'm a Dutchman, and we have Johan Cruyff, and he followed, in fact, Pele with it, because he was, and also when he was a politician, he was also really connected and thinking about the game and about the well-being of players on all different levels. And he well understood, and people around him as well, I think, how important his image was and how he could use it. So everybody knew Pele from whatever. He was in a lot of commercial deals, but also, and from what I've understood, I never met him, but from what I've understood, always really professional around all those things, because we can say a lot about Diego Maradona, but yeah, let's say that when outside of the pitch, it was not always the most reliable person. So yeah, he transformed the whole Pele imperium. Everybody knew Pele at some point. He had the first big deals with Puma for his shoes as well. So yeah, that's where he was also he was a true trailblazer for the game.
Tim Vickery, what do you make of brand Pele?
The drive that made Pele such a fantastic player is in large part the result of economic insecurity and the fear of economic insecurity. His mother was dead set against him being a footballer, insecure profession. You could end up on the scrap heap tomorrow. And he always had that voice in him. And I think right up until the last few years, I think he was incapable of feeling financially secure. So the brand work that he did, I think it had there were two reasons for it. Number one, it kept him visible. And that was very important. He was a guardian of his own prestige. He was fiercely protective of his own place as the greatest player ever to play the game. He didn't like it when people were placed on a similar level. But also, it was a source of money. And he did it with such consummate professionalism. He was the Pele of public relations as well. But he's driven by that fear of financial destitution, the trauma of childhood poverty, that I think right until the end, I think was very hard for him to switch off. And just to go back briefly to the politics, and Pele himself argued that not being involved directly in politics was one of his great strengths. He was compared to a number of idols from the 1960s, the Beatles, the Stones, Che Guevara, Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, and he declared himself superior to them all. Superior to Martin Luther King and Ali because they got involved in politics and he didn't. So his message was restricted to sport and therefore was only positive. Also, it doesn't offend anyone, does it? You don't create any enemies that way, and that you maximize your return on your brand potential. Every right to do so. He worked so hard to build up that legacy. He had every right to make a living from it in the second half of his life.
Tim Vickery, thanks very much indeed for your analysis. And if